Hello everybody, I'm Perry. Today I'm with Eddie Stone, the founder and the CEO of Touchstone Essentials. Hello Eddie.
Hi Perry, great to be with you and your audience today.
Great to be with you today too. Eddie, I saw this on your website from your company. The chocolate banana popsicles look so good. I love chocolate and I love bananas, you know.
Yeah, so that's one of the better ones we have in terms of like recipes. That one, and then there's one that's made with strawberries and watermelon. So I love frozen treats like that, and the chance to do that and have them be, more healthy than they would be if they were just a traditional popsicle. So we're big fans of that. In fact, there's a number of the recipes there. There's one that's protein and peanut butter, so kind of little protein chocolate peanut butter balls. So if you like to experiment in the kitchen, I encourage people to try the recipes.
But I never know that like coconut milk, can go with this very well. I mean, here in Thailand we have coconut milk plenty,
Yeah. Well, I think it's good that people are experimenting with not just coconut milk, but a variety of nut milks, because they don't have the same types of fats that can ultimately lead to vulnerability to heart disease, vulnerability to developing type 2 diabetes. And so if you read any of our blogs or if you hear me speak, I'm a big fan of trying to incorporate plants into your diet as much as possible. So nut milks, whether that's coconut milk or coconut water is hugely popular here in the States. It's a great thing to add to your smoothies. Cashew milk or almond milk. So yeah, big fan, and experiment in the kitchen with it, right? Because it's a great way to bake.
Okay. In the last video last week, we were talking about your CBD oil. Okay, and this person, Marie Jan Kolsky, she said, "Thank you for clarifying CBD oil for me. This was very helpful, and I'm glad Eddie will be carrying CBD at Touchstone." When is it out, Eddie?
Well, we're excited, and we're not announcing the official release date, but I'll give you a range. We hope to have this in the marketplace by mid-August. And if we can make it happen even a few days before then, that's one of our goals. Because of just the logistics associated with transporting the product, it would initially be available for shipping day one in the US and Japan, and then we will get inventory over into Europe and sort of expand from there. And so certainly by the end of August, our expectations are to have the first two products in the line available, and then in early September the next two. And so when it comes out, for those that are fans, and I've got to say, after now working with CBD oil for numerous months, I'm a big fan. It has a real impact on my sleep, particularly. The first two products will be zero THC. One will be a tinctured product with a mint flavor, and then the second one will be a balm or salve, whatever you want to call it, with a mix of lavender and eucalyptus. Smells fantastic, and really for muscle aches and pains, I just think it's just terrific in terms of its effectiveness. Then after that, just a few short weeks after that, we'll introduce an advanced formula. This will actually be a 1,500 milligram product, as well as a pet product. And the pet product's interesting because pets, you definitely need to make sure that it has zero THC, because that can be toxic for them. But they also don't really prefer flavors. And so that one will be sort of a natural, fairly benign flavor, sort of raw in its flavor. It will be fit for humans or pets, but we call it our pet product, and we'll have a nice picture of a couple of a cat and a dog on there to give people an indication of what it is. But we're looking forward to that, because it can really have an impact on your pets if they deal with storms and anxiety associated with that, or crowds. In North Carolina, where I live on the east coast of the United States, here in the summertime, particularly in the afternoons, man, the skies can really fire up, and so thunder, lightning, all these types of things are really pretty common. I know our dog sort of runs to the closet, which I think is fairly difficult for some pets to deal with. And so it can be effective in that regard, but also helping pets with joint pain and stiffness, because they deal with those very same issues. And so we want to make sure we take care of our pet population as well. And so we're excited about it. So by mid-August, I promise we'll have some products out into the marketplace, and then the full line as early in September as we can.
Mm-hmm. And how about to Thailand? This product can send to Thailand, Eddie?
Right now, it looks like that the regulations restrict the shipping of hemp oil or CBD oil products to Thailand. I do know in reading some of the local newspapers, things that are published in English online, it looks like there is some discussion at the regulatory level, the government level, about making CBD oil available. I don't know how fast things like that will move through the regulatory system, but my hope is really just across the globe we're going to see a relaxing of those regulations. There's certainly nothing to indicate that there's any danger associated with it. It's really just one of those things that's beneficial, and hopefully as countries that are uncertain about it see so many other countries embracing it and the benefits to the population, it'll make a big difference. I know in Japan, one of the things that sort of loosened up the regulation was the emperor's wife really had a positive, strong experience with CBD oil, and her story got told and published in the paper. I think that had an impact on their regulatory bodies, their legislatures, and so they have allowed it to become available to their citizens. And so I'm hoping that happens really across the globe as soon as it can.
Mm-hmm. Any this CBD oil, healthy people can take it too, right?
Absolutely. It has a lot of really interesting qualities that I call sort of proactive health benefits. Number one, it is an antioxidant. So just like we find with other plant-based materials, there's antioxidant qualities that come from it. So we know that that helps to fight the free radicals in the body. But it also brings a balance to the system. So I think we spoke a little bit about it last week or a couple of weeks ago, where your endocrine system actually has receptors, for the cannabinoids that you find in the hemp oil. And whether we're talking about receptor site 1 or receptor site 2, 1 really has a positive impact on sort of the tension or the anxiety that we think of, sort of the flight or fight chemistry in the body. And we know that even everyday simple stresses can have a negative impact on the body, can make you more likely to gain weight, struggle with sleep, just all kinds of sort of downstream effects that aren't positive. And so it can help to maintain a balance there from everyday stresses and things of that nature. And then second, talking about the receptor site 2, this is where it can help to bring about balance or homeostasis hormonally, which has a massive positive impact on your immune system. So you think about sort of the go-go lifestyle of normal living, right? All of the demands, we've got our mobile phones sitting beside us all day looking for a notification, or got to check our emails, or traffic, or just all the hubbub that is, sort of defines modern living. And that really can have a strong negative impact on the immune system, right? So anytime you can introduce, just like a good balanced diet in many ways can have a similar type of effect, in this case, these really do help the body find that homeostasis, that balance, and for some people almost a harmony that's then very beneficial to the effectiveness of your immune system. So whether you're a person really fighting some issues related to anxiety, lack of sleep, otherwise, or just someone that wants to live more healthy lifestyle, just like you might try to eat a balanced diet, including plenty of plants and fruits and vegetables and things of that kind, CBD oil can be a natural component of that just healthy lifestyle and living.
And how much do we have to take, like CBD oil daily?
That's going to vary based upon body weight and body chemistry. I look at it in the same way, people that maybe drink coffee or tea. Some people, no matter what their body weight is, just even a little bit of caffeine can have an effect on them. And for others, I know people small in stature that can drink caffeine all day. You think that'd be too much for them, right? Too much with their tea and their coffee, and yet doesn't seem to have an impact at all. So it's going to vary based upon your body and your biochemistry and your sensitivities. But for the most part, our initial product will be 750 milligram tincture. So that just means it's in a oil or a liquid form that you'll put under your tongue. And about a half a pipette will, it'll be in a dropper, will probably satisfy most people. But for others, maybe they'll need the whole pipette. And so they'll just need to experiment a little bit with themselves. They'll kind of figure out, do I use it, in the morning, in the afternoon, or do I use it in the evenings only? Or they'll sort of have to play around with it and figure out what makes the most sense for them. But for most people with our product at 750 milligrams, a 30-day supply is basically a half a pipette twice a day, and that would probably do it for them.
Okay. Eddie, can we talk more about the zeolite too? Because Suzanne's right, asking, powder form of zeolite is fraction of the price of the liquid from limit. Came down from my show with him, okay? Is advocating it is also more potent since it is not diluted, and safer because the solution used to dilute the powder is questionable. Also better for the environment because you don't end up throwing all those bottles away. What would you like to say about this?
Well, I appreciate the question, and particularly the recognition about packaging. And we're all the time trying to think very carefully about our environmental footprint and the green nature of our business. And so one of the reasons we use glass as much as possible. The materials that we ship in are recycled material. For those that have received some of our packaging, you'll notice what we wrap our bottles in, our glass in, is a expandable paper that allows you to accomplish the same structural safety for the glass bottles without using as much traditional paper, and that paper is then also recycled. So we're conscious of that, and it's an effort for us on an ongoing basis, and we talk about this on our website for those that want to read more about it, but there's an ongoing effort for us to be conscious of that. But in terms of, and let me just make sure I've got the question properly here, someone is saying, hey, a raw zeolite powder appears to be a better value. And I can appreciate where that question comes from because it's counterintuitive to think about the fact that in some cases less is more, and that's maybe not the way we tend to think about things. But let me give you sort of several reasons why the raw powder is not the best value, and frankly some questions about its effectiveness. And remember, as an organization, we probably process and work with on an annual basis as much zeolite as anybody in the marketplace, and we certainly could offer a powdered product if we felt like that was best for the consumer or even for ourselves. But the challenge with raw zeolite, and if you're buying it in a powder, dry powder, then that's a raw zeolite that hasn't been cleaned. Because it does require a liquid environment to clean it, right? There's no way to do it as a dry product. So just to give you an indication, and for us, you can actually see this evidence on our website. If you go to our website, you drill down on the science details associated with our Pure Body and our Pure Body Extra, you can actually see test results of what a dry powder looks like and then what it looks like after we clean it. But essentially, the powder is full of toxins, environmental toxins. Zeolites are so effective that even in nature, they're porous materials, they're negative charge, draws into themselves toxins that you find in the soil, in the air. Even when you mine it, you can even find traces of the diesel exhaust associated with the machinery that's been used to mine it. That's how effective zeolites are. And the challenge is that without having prepared the cage, and we can talk about the details scientifically if you want to, but without having prepared that cage, it's I'll go back to an analogy I use quite frequently. It's almost like trying to clean a countertop with a dirty sponge. Unless that sponge has been cleaned, it's just simply not going to be effective. And so that's one side of it, is that the cage itself has not been cleaned. The second thing to look at, and this may be the bigger issue altogether, no pun intended, is that the molecule is just simply too big to be effective. So most powders that a person would look to buy would range in size from 4 to say as much as 40 microns in size. You may see some that get down to as small as 1 micron in size. But the challenge is that that particle is so large that it's simply going to pass through the digestive system, the bowel, or the gut, however you want to refer to it. And where the toxins are in the body, I mean, certainly keeping a clean gut is important, but in the soft tissues and the blood and at the cellular level, this is really where heavy metals are. I mean, heavy metals, think of them as being angstrom in size, right? Smaller than even a nano-sized particle. And so they're largely not there in the gut. And so the very size of the zeolite in a powdered form is just too large to have a broad effectiveness outside of the digestive system. And for someone that says, well, it's not diluted and it's saturated, it doesn't matter. If the particle is simply too large, it's just going to pass through the gut. It doesn't matter how much of it you use. You could use tablespoons of it. You could use a cup of it. You know, whatever you want to try and do. If it's too large to migrate out of the bowel or the lining of the gut to get into the soft tissue and the bloodstream, it's just simply not going to be effective. Remember that the zeolite is a hardened mineral, and so it does not dissolve in water or in fat. It remains a hardened mineral as it goes through the body. So unlike, say, a medication that you might take that's maybe a micron in size that dissolves in fat or water, in this case that's not what happens with a zeolite. So it's just going to pass through the body. The other challenge associated with its size is that in this case, surface area is limited by size. And I'll give you kind of an example of that. So let's take a soccer ball. And a soccer ball has approximately a surface area of 1.63 square feet. All right? And most of us can envision a soccer ball. Maybe you're a basketball fan, so envision a basketball. And so it's sort of, we think of size generally, and larger is better. But in this case, if we look at, say, a nano-sized particle compared to that soccer ball, literally in the same space. And so the space of a soccer ball, if I would cut the soccer ball open on top and pour inside of it an equivalent volume size of nano-sized particles, that literally creates a surface area of 100 acres. So just think for a moment about the exponential nature of what I've just said. A soccer ball surface area, 1.63 square feet, versus nano-sized particles inside the soccer ball literally create a surface area of 100 acres. And so with a zeolite particle, it's opportunistic in how it works. You take it into the body, and the areas that it's present, it can have the ability to attract to itself, through its negative charge, heavy metals, volatile organics, and other environmental pollutants, and then has a chance to bind with those and carry them out of the system. Absence of being present to it, right? So it's almost like if I've got something on one end of my desk and on the other end is something else. Those two are too far away to be attractive, right? Attracted to one another. You gotta have a proximity, and that's how zeolites work, is based upon proximity. So in this case, you want as much surface area as possible, and then you want to think in terms of how it fits into the system. So certainly when you talk about things that are a micron in size, up to say 40 microns in size, those are not going to penetrate at the cellular level. But if you talk about things that are, say, 0.04 microns in size, that's the mean average size that we use with our Pure Body regular product. And the decision of that size is purposeful, because that's approximately the size where we can know about half the material It's going to remain in the gut, so you do have that gut impact in terms of detox. But then about half that material is going to migrate through the soft tissues into the bloodstream, so it's got a chance to help detoxify the body in other areas. Well, that 0.04 microns compared to, say, a 4 micron size particle, you're talking about 1,000 times smaller. Now, mathematically, you start to add up what does that mean in terms of additional surface area, and you literally have to use tons of raw zeolite in the 1 to 40 micron size range to even come approximately close to what you can do with nano-sized particles. And so I know for most people, they're not probably wanting to revisit their time in school where they studied biochemistry and these types of things, but in this case, it's counterintuitive, but the bottom line is those larger size particles won't penetrate the body where you want them to. They aren't clean and prepared to absorb toxins efficiently as they could be, and their surface area is diminished. And so in this case, it's where a person's got to fight that natural tendency to think larger is better, because it's not. Here's the bottom line I share with people: gram for gram, small particle size creates an exponentially larger surface area and exposes more of the zeolite cage, and that essentially amplifies the effectiveness of the zeolite in the body. And this is all it's all hard science, and if somebody wants to do that kind of research, they can look into it. But that's why we would never offer a powdered product, because of those limitations. And we know consumers are certainly looking for value, and that's what drives us with the products we put out there.
Mm-hmm. So far, for Thai people who has a chance to use zeolite, they are happy with the results.
Oh, that's great to hear. I'll tell you, it's one of the things that excites us every day when we get up. We have a review process on our website, plus people send in stuff, and it's just almost on a daily basis where we're getting really heartwarming remarks and comments from people about what's happening for them that's positive. And we like to see that, because we realize that, again, this modern world we live in, we're bombarded by toxins in the air, the food, and the water supply. So we're happy to have a product we can make available to help people manage those issues better.
Mm-hmm. And then the last question of the day, okay? May I ask, like, apple cider vinegar can help to lose fat or not? Possible?
Yes, it sure can. But let me place that in context, because apple cider vinegar by itself is not burning fat. But what it can do, the chemistry of the apple cider vinegar, and here, just to be clear what I'm talking about, I prefer for us to think about using an organic, unfiltered apple cider vinegar. Sometimes it's called with the mother, so they'll kind of see a cloudiness, and you've got to shake it up. So if it's properly labeled and it's cloudy and you've got to shake it up, then you've probably got the right products. If you take that prior to eating, let's say about 20 minutes or so, what the research shows is that it will improve your insulin sensitivity. And so what we know is that for people that struggle with their weight or they're overweight, almost by the definition of being overweight, you've become over time insulin resistant. And I know in research here in the United States, and I know this would extend to other parts of the world, about 85% of the US population is insulin resistant. And so in addition to their lifestyle or their eating habits or lack of exercise, we know all of those things can impact a person gaining weight. Being insulin resistant also means that your body will produce excess amounts of insulin, and so those, which is not helpful when you're trying to control weight, because excess amount of insulins will sequester glucose as it rises and likely turn it into a yellow fat, which can be quite difficult to get rid of. The apple cider vinegar, much like vigorous exercise and other things that a person can do, improves that insulin sensitivity, which simply means the body gets the signal to slow down its production of insulin sooner or quicker. It also means that the way it processes glucose into the cell gives people more energy. They're far more likely to feel fuller sooner and not be so likely after, say, 2 hours after eating to have sort of that crash that people often have, and now they need some sugar to get their blood sugar back up, so maybe they go for something unhealthy, a candy bar, a donut, whatever it happens to be. And so anything we can do to improve that insulin sensitivity, which apple cider vinegar has that reputation for, and we know research would help support, can then help a person with their weight control or weight loss. And so I have made it a part of my habits. I don't know if anybody happened to watch. I recently, with my daughter, took one of our 10-day challenges where I had a couple shakes a day and a sensible meal for 10 days in a row, and did some videos about it on Facebook. I shared that apple cider vinegar is a big part of my dietary habits. We keep it in the house, and when I go places that they offer it, I will use it, and I try to use it before a meal every time, and has a real important impact with me in helping control my blood sugar, much like a lot of people. So I'm a big fan, but it's an indirect impact on the weight loss. But the general notion of your question, will it help people lose weight? I think we can say yes. The answer is yes on that because of its downstream effects.
Okay, Eddie, thank you for sharing with us today. So see you again next week, okay?
Thank you, Perry, for having me, and I always enjoy these questions. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you for watching, everybody. See you again on Galactic Update with Kenta. Bye-bye.